You ever have one of those moments where the world just stops, like everything slows down and you can hear your own heartbeat? That's what it felt like when the sound of a slap cut through the chatter at Bella's Grill, this fancy steakhouse downtown where the city's big shots sip overpriced wine and pretend they're untouchable. My sister, Emily Harper, was sitting there, 8 months pregnant, her hand pressed to her cheek, eyes wide with shock as her husband, Nathan Caldwell, leaned in close, hissing something venomous only she could hear. "I'm Jake Harper, by the way, Emily's older brother, just back from my last tour with the Marines, working a side gig as a waiter to clear my head while I figured out what's next." That night, I was wiping down tables, blending into the background in my black apron, when I saw it all go down. Emily, my little sis, who used to chase me around our backyard with a water gun, was now frozen, her face red where Nathan's hand had landed. She'd bumped the table reaching for her purse, sent a glass of water crashing to the floor, such a small thing. But to Nathan, it was an excuse to humiliate her in front of everyone. Nathan, this slick tech mogul with a smile that could sell ice to penguins, leaned back in his chair, adjusting his $5,000 suit like nothing happened. "Clumsy as always, darling," he said, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear, his tone dripping with fake concern. To the other diners, he was just a doting husband dealing with his pregnant wife's little accident. But I saw Emily's eyes, those same hazel eyes that used to light up when we'd sneak cookies from Mom's jar, and they were dull, scared, like she was walking on a tightrope with no net below. 3 years of marriage to Nathan had done that to her, turned her into someone who apologized for existing. I was across the room, tray in hand, when it happened, and let me tell you, it took everything in me not to storm over and deck the guy right there. But I'm a Marine, I don't just react, I plan. I caught the eye of my boss, Mike Russo, who owns Bella's and served with me overseas. Mike's got this quiet intensity, like he's always 2 steps ahead of trouble. He saw my face, knew something was up, and gave me a nod that said, "Handle it, but don't start a war." Yet, I walked over, playing the part of the polite waiter, but my blood was boiling. "Everything all right here, sir?" I asked, locking eyes with Nathan. He barely looked at me, just waved a hand like I was furniture. "New tablecloth," he said, smooth as silk. "My wife's having a rough pregnancy, you know how it is." Oh, I knew how it was, all right. I knew the way Emily flinched when he moved his hand, the way her voice shook when she whispered, "I'm sorry." I'd seen that look before, not just in her, but in too many others, the kind of fear that creeps in when someone spent years breaking you down. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I'm gonna grab the manager. We'll take care of everything." Nathan's jaw tightened. Ed wasn't used to being questioned, but he couldn't make a scene, not with half the city's elite watching. I walked away, signaling Mike, who was already on his way, moving like he was back in Kandahar, assessing threats. Emily caught my eye for a split second, and I saw its recognition. She hadn't seen me in years, not since Nathan convinced her I was some deadbeat who didn't care about family. But in that moment, she knew it was me, and I saw a flicker of something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Mike got to the table, all professional courtesy, but his eyes were sharp, taking in every detail. "Mr. Caldwell, I'm Mike Russo, owner of Bella's. I understand there was an incident." Nathan tried to charm his way out, flashing that $1,000,000 grin. "Just a little clumsiness, nothing serious. My wife's pregnancy makes her unsteady, you know?" But I wasn't having it. I stepped forward, apron still on, and said, "I saw everything, sir. You hit her. Clear as day." The restaurant went quiet, like someone hit pause on the world. Nathan's face flushed, but he was trapped. His whole image depended on looking like the perfect family man. "You must be mistaken," he said, his voice tight, like he was trying not to choke on his own lies. "I was just helping my wife." That's when I dropped the bomb. "Helping your wife? That's my sister you're talking about." Emily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, and Nathan's face went from red to ghost white. He'd spent years telling her I was a nobody, a grunt who'd abandoned her. But here I was, standing 6 feet tall and ready to tear his world apart. "Jake," Emily whispered, her voice breaking. "Hey, sis," I said soft as I could. "Been a while." Nathan tried to recover, sneering. "You're the deadbeat brother she's ashamed of. What's this, some kind of hero complex?" But Mike had my back. "Mr. Caldwell," he said, his voice like steel, "this is Staff Sergeant Jake Harper, decorated Marine sniper. I served with him in Afghanistan, and I'd trust him with my life. Can't say the same for you." Nathan laughed, but it was forced, like he knew he was losing control. "You think you can threaten me? My mother's Judge Evelyn Caldwell shall bury you both." That's when I leaned in close, just enough so he could hear me. "Your mother? The judge who's been covering up your dirty deals for years?" "Yeah, I did my homework, Nathan. Marines don't just fight, we dig." Emily was trembling, but she stood up, her voice small but steady. "I'm not going home with you, Nathan. Not tonight. Not ever." The restaurant erupted in applause, and for the first time in years, I saw my sister stand tall. That night, we got Emily out of there, but it was just the start. Nathan wasn't just a bully, he was a criminal, and his whole empire was built on lies. Emily took us to their penthouse, this cold, fancy place that felt more like a prison than a home. She showed us the cameras hidden in every corner, watching her every move. "He monitors everything," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What I do, who I talk to, even what I watch on TV." My stomach turned. This wasn't just control, it was obsession. That's when Sarah Miller showed up, Emily's old college roommate, now a badass divorce lawyer who'd been trying to reach her for months. Sarah took one look at the cameras and said, "This is illegal as hell. He's got no right to surveil you without consent." We started digging through Nathan's office, and what we found was worse than we imagined. Emails between him and his business partner, Laura Bennett, laid it all out. Nathan's company was overcharging the military for junk equipment, radios that failed in combat, body armor that cracked under pressure. 3 guys in my unit died last year because of his garbage, and he was pocketing millions while their families grieved. But it got darker. Nathan was planning to have Emily declared mentally unfit after the baby was born, to lock her up in some facility and take their kid. "He's been building a case against me," Emily said, tears streaming down her face as she clutched her belly. "He says I'm too unstable to be a mother." Sarah was already snapping photos of the emails, her jaw set. "This isn't just abuse, Emily. It's a conspiracy, and we're going to nail him." Then we heard the front door slam open. Nathan was back, his voice echoing through the apartment like a storm. "Emily, where the hell are you?" Emily's contractions hit hard. She was going into labor, the stress pushing her body to the edge. I moved fast, shoving evidence into my pockets, while Sarah whispered, "Service elevator," through the kitchen. But Nathan was already in the hallway, his footsteps heavy, his voice sharp with that unhinged edge I'd heard from guys about to snap. "You think you can humiliate me in public, Emily? You and your deadbeat brother." He burst into the office, eyes wild, suit wrinkled like he'd been unraveling since the restaurant. "Well, look at this," he sneered, taking in me, Sarah, and Emily doubled over in pain. The war hero, the ambulance chaser, and my pathetic wife. What a team. I stepped in front of Emily, every muscle ready. "Back off, Nathan. She's in labor, and you're not helping." He laughed, but it was desperate, like a cornered animal. "She's mine, soldier boy. So's the kid. So's everything in this room." "That's where you're wrong," Sarah shot back, holding up her phone with photos of his emails. "Half of this is Emily's, and so's the evidence of your crimes: fraud, abuse, conspiracy to kidnap your own kid." Nathan's hand twitched toward his jacket, and I moved faster than I thought possible, grabbing his wrist before he could pull whatever he was reaching for. "Gun?" I asked, my voice low, dangerous. "Ankle holster too, I bet." Sarah was already on the phone with 911, cool as ice. "Domestic violence situation, armed suspect." Send backup. Nathan screamed, struggling against my grip. You can't do this. I'm Nathan Caldwell. I have Pentagon contracts. But I just tightened my hold, calm as ever. You're a criminal who hit a pregnant woman, and now you're under citizen's arrest. By the time the cops showed up, Nathan was a mess, shouting about his lawyers and his mother, but it was over. Emily was rushed to the hospital, and I wasn't leaving her side. In the hospital, Emily gave birth to a perfect little girl, Lily Harper Caldwell. The name was her choice, a nod to our family, a way to give her daughter something Nathan could never touch. As Emily held Lily, whispering, "Mama's here, you're safe," I felt something break inside minute pain, but pride. My sister was a fighter, even if she didn't know it yet. But Nathan wasn't done. His mother, Judge Evelyn Caldwell, was pulling strings from the shadows, threatening to have Emily declared unfit, to take Lily away through her crooked court connections. That's when the big guns showed up literally and figuratively. Senator Rachel Bennett, who'd been sniffing around Nathan's company for months, came to the hospital with a laptop full of evidence we'd sent her. Your husband's been selling defective gear to the military, she told Emily, her voice grim. Men died because of him, and we're going to make sure he pays. Then the FBI rolled in Agent Laura Torres, all business, laying out how Nathan's fraud stretched to money laundering, tax evasion, and bribing his own mother to fix court cases. Evelyn was arrested that night, her judicial empire crumbling faster than Nathan's lies. The trial was brutal. Emily took the stand, her voice steady as she read Nathan's emails plotting to lock her away, to steal Lily. He said I was weak, she told the court, holding Lily's tiny blanket like a lifeline. But I'm here because my daughter deserves a world where the truth wins. Nathan's lawyer tried to paint her as a liar, a gold digger. But the evidence was airtight: his own words, his own deals, his own betrayal of the men I served with. When the verdict came guilty, 25 years without parole, I saw Nathan's hands shake, his perfect mask finally gone. Evelyn's trial was next, and Emily didn't just testify, she spoke for every woman her mother-in-law had crushed in court. She used her gavel to protect abusers. Emily said, Lily on her hip, now a toddler with my stubborn chin. She tore families apart for money. That ends now. Evelyn got 15 years, and the courtroom cheered. Emily had started the Lily Foundation, helping women escape abuse with lawyers, safe houses, and hope. She was in law school now, determined to fix the system that failed her. But Evelyn didn't go quietly. Even from prison, she filed a custody suit, claiming Emily was unfit, dragging out the fight to wear her down. One day, she showed up at Bella's with a process server, trying to serve papers in front of a lunch crowd. Emily Harper, she called out, her voice dripping with fake concern. I'm here to protect my granddaughter. Emily didn't flinch. She stepped forward, Lily in her arms, and said, You threatened to take my baby before she was born. You raised a son who hit me while I was pregnant. You don't get to touch my family. The crowd was silent, then erupted in cheers as Mike and I escorted Evelyn out, her threats falling flat. A year later, Emily's apartment is a mess of toys and law books, but it's home. Lily's too now, bossing everyone around with a grin that could melt steel. Emily's dating a guy named Tom, a quiet teacher who treats Lily like his own. The Lily Foundation's in 12 states, helping women like Jessica Lee, who showed up at Emily's door last week, pregnant and scared, just like Emily was. He says I'll never see my kid, Jessica whispered, clutching a stack of papers. Emily just smiled, handing her a pancake. I've heard that before. You're not alone, and you're stronger than you know. Sometimes, I catch Emily staring out her window, watching the city hum along, and I know she's thinking about how far she's come. From a terrified wife in a penthouse prison to a woman who's changing lives, one story at a time. I used to think asking for help was weakness, she told me once, Lily asleep in her lap. Now I know it's the bravest thing you can do. And that's the truth. Nathan and Evelyn thought they could control her, but they didn't count on her finding her voice or the army of people who'd fight for her. So here's the thing. Emily's story isn't over. There are still Nathans out there, still Evelyns pulling strings. But every time a woman like Jessica walks through Emily's door, it's proof that courage spreads, that truth can win. What do you think? Have you seen justice like this in your own life? Or maybe you've faced a bully who thought they were untouchable. Drop a comment, share your story. Let's keep this conversation going, because no one fights alone.